Hey, welcome back everyone. In today's video, we'll be exploring the role of proximity in world building while I design a map in my procedural map generator. Click the subscribe button below if you'd like to follow along as we design future improvements to the generator. Proximity refers to the closeness between regions or peoples. It's a fundamental force that shapes interactions, relationships, and historical paths of societies. In world building, especially when simulating thousands of years of human history and culture, integrating the concept of proximity is essential for creating dynamic and believable worlds. Proximity is not just about physical distance on a map. It also involves the opportunities and challenges that arise when societies share common spaces. It acts as a catalyst for cultural exchange, economic interactions, power dynamics, and both conflict and cooperation. Historically, neighboring societies have profoundly influenced each other through trade, warfare, migration, and the spread of innovations. In world building, recognizing the role of proximity means acknowledging that societies don't develop in isolation. Their geographical closeness facilitates interactions that shape their cultures, economies, and political structures. Proximity affects how quickly ideas spread, how likely conflicts are to occur, and how identities are formed and transformed over time. Integrating proximity into a procedural world generator, like we're working on, involves simulating how geographical closeness affects societies over long periods. At the core of integrating this proximity is representing the physical space where societies exist. You can divide the world into regions or areas where societies can develop and recognize that shared borders and accessible terrain facilitate interactions. We consider not just physical distance, but also that terrain and accessibility is crucial because these factors determine how easily societies can interact. For example, mountain ranges or vast deserts may limit interactions despite physical closeness, while rivers and plains may enhance connectivity. Proximity also affects cultural exchange, greatly enhancing the flow of ideas, beliefs, and practices between societies. Neighboring cultures often influence each other's languages, religions, customs, and artistic expressions. Over time, this can lead to the formation of hybrid cultures, where elements from different societies blend to create new traditions. Trade, migration, and intermarriage are common pathways for such cultural exchanges. In the context of world generation, you could imagine zones where a society's cultural influence is strongest, diminishing with distance. Societies that are closer would interact more frequently, increasing the chances of cultural assimilation. Additionally, how open a society is to external influences can affect that rate of cultural exchange. Some societies eagerly adopt new ideas, while others might resist to preserve their traditions. Geographical closeness or proximity also significantly shapes the political relationships between societies. Neighboring societies might compete for control over shared resources like rivers, fertile lands, or mineral deposits. This competition can lead to conflicts or strategic alliances, depending on the society's goals. Powerful societies may exert influence or control over weaker neighbors, leading to the formation of empires or hegemonies. Conceptually, societies are aware of nearby resources and may seek to control them. Relationships between societies can range from friendly alliances to hostile rivalries, influenced by proximity and shared interest or threats. This balance of power is fluid, with societies gaining or losing influence based on their interactions with their neighbors. Recognizing these dynamics would allow for the simulation of political landscapes that evolve over time, reflecting shifting alliances. Close proximity also can heighten tensions and lead to conflict. Shared borders can become points of contention, especially if territorial boundaries are unclear or disputed. Cultural and ideological differences can be amplified by proximity, leading to misunderstandings or hostility. Historical grievances, such as past wars or injustices, are more common for close neighbors and can influence current relationships and perpetuate cycles of animosity. In a world generator, you can increase the likelihood of conflicts between neighboring societies, especially over contested resources or over ideological differences. These societies can remember past interactions, and this historical memory can influence future behaviors and attitudes. You can introduce diplomatic options for societies to resolve these disputes that peacefully adds depth to simulation and allows outcomes that range from war to negotiated settlements, and then later lead to emergent stories. Neighboring societies also often develop mutual dependencies that influence their development. For example, economic interdependence emerges as trade networks grow, with societies relying on each other for goods and services. Technological and knowledge exchanges occur as innovations spread more rapidly between close societies. Political dependencies can form through alliances or vassal relationships, creating networks of mutual obligation and support. Conceptually, societies can be modeled as part of a regional economy in a world generator, where changes in one can affect others. Technological advances in one society can influence neighboring ones, leading to shared progress or competition. Diplomatic networks could reflect the dependencies and mutual interest of societies, shaping their interactions and their collective development. The interactions fostered by proximity also contribute significantly to the development of societal identities. Societies develop collective memories based on shared experiences, whether those are cooperative or adversarial. Proximity influences language development, religious practices, and social norms as societies borrow from or distinguish themselves from their neighbors. Balancing the maintenance of unique identities with the adoption of beneficial external influences can be a constant dynamic. And in world generations, societies can be characterized by key cultural elements that distinguish them, such as language, religion, and customs. If we allow societies to evolve culturally based on interaction, it can lead to divergence or convergence over time. Stories and myths can reinforce identities and explain these relationships with neighbors, which can add richness to our simulation. Societies navigate a tension between adapting to external influences and maintaining their autonomy. Adapting can bring benefits like technological advancements and improved well being, but preserving unique cultural practices can strengthen societal cohesion and identity. Some societies may resist external influences to protect traditions, leading to varying degrees of openness or isolation. In a procedurally generated world, we can think through how societies can vary in their willingness to adopt external influences, existing along a spectrum of cultural openness. Strong identities or traditions might cause societies to resist change, affecting how they interact with others. There could be thresholds where societies embrace or reject external influences based on cumulative interactions, leading to significant shifts in their developmental paths. Proximity also ensures that societies' futures are intertwined. Significant events in one society, like wars, plagues, or technological breakthroughs, can have ripple effects on neighboring societies. The stability of a region can depend on the collective interactions of its societies, and they influence each other's developmental paths, leading to regional characteristics that could define broader cultural or historical periods. Now, modeling how events spread and affecting neighboring societies is crucial. We could consider the collective state of a region rather than just individual societies, which would allow for a more holistic simulation of historical dynamics. We could recognize that proximity leads to these sustained relationships that affect long term development and reflect more of the complexity of these interactions among societies. So, what are some strategies that we could incorporate for the procedural map generator? Well, let's emphasize systems of interaction. We need to develop frameworks that facilitate various types of interactions based on proximity, allow relationships between cultures, societies, kingdoms, counties, duchies, empires to change over time due to interactions and events. Feedback loops should ensure that interactions have consequences, influencing future behaviors and creating a dynamic, evolving world leading all the way up to your generated world. We should reflect the influence of geography. We should consider things like natural boundaries, resource distribution, and environmental factors and how that would affect interactions. Geographical features like mountains, rivers, and deserts should hinder or perhaps enhance connectivity, influencing how societies develop and interact. We should model cultural and social dynamics, incorporate ways for societies to share and adopt cultural traits, allowing them to define and preserve their unique identities while responding to external influences. We should account for migration and population shifts due to proximity as demographic changes impact societal development. We should prevent, however, the simulation from becoming overwhelming by determining what are the appropriate levels of abstraction. We need to design modular systems and focus on what's most impactful for our generation in order to maintain a manageable and scalable simulation. We should ensure temporal depth, so tracking historical events and relationships over time. We should allow societies to evolve in response to cumulative interactions. We need to recognize that decisions and events have lasting impacts and enhance that historical continuity and realism through these very close relationships among various societies. And using all of this, incorporating all of these factors of proximity will enable us in the simulation to generate unique histories based on interactions influenced by proximity and promote emergent narratives. Significant events arising from proximity, like alliances or wars, not only enrich the world's history and are just some encyclopedia entry that we read later. Instead, they also should affect other events that are occurring and allow for emergent systems. Integrating this persistent effect of proximity into the procedural map generator will enrich the simulation by adding depth and realism. If you want to keep walking step by step through the design of the procedural map generator with me, make sure to hit subscribe below. Thanks for watching.